Yeah, a live version of Rock and Roll Girl, and then before that, Working Too Hard by The Beat, later to become the Paul Collins Beat. And this purveyor of power pop, if you'll pardon the alliteration, started out with The Nerves and then The Beat and continues to make music right into 2010. And we'll talk about that because he's on the phone with us tonight. And Paul, I got to wonder, since, considering the kind of music you've made your whole life, what got you into music in the first place? What sort of stuff did you listen to?
Well, growing up at that time period, I'm, I guess, a child of the 60s, and the 60s spawned some of the greatest. That was a golden age for rock and roll, I think.
Sure.
And that encompassed everything from the late 50s, on up. And I was, I think, the two artists that really, the first two artists that I ever heard were thanks to my dad, and they were Hank Williams and Ray Charles. And in particular, my father loved Ray Charles, had this album called Country and Western Hits.
Sure.
And, it's like, it's just great songs, like When Your True Love Writes a Letter. Then it was WABC radio, because I was living in Long Island, and I would go to bed every night with the radio glued to my ear, like probably millions of kids. And I would listen to WABC, Cousin Brucey, Harry Harrison, and that was basically everything. That was just one big fat hit single that encompassed the California sound with the Beach Boys, the Mitch Ryder, the Buckinghams, the whole Motown sound, the British Invasion, the Who, Jerry and the Pacemaker, and of course the Beatles and the Stones with the Turtles, and so it was. But also it was. Glenn Campbell, just incredible sounds and incredible songs and incredible songwriters. Burt Bacharach. And that's the music that I was like listening to and going, wow. And the Monkees,
Sure.
Build Me Up Buttercup. I just remember listening to that over and over, and every time. Every time they get to the big hook, and all those songs, it would just rip me up. And I go, man, this is so cool. If I could figure out how to do this, this is just the top. And so that really, and I think that's the one thing that I'm happy about, and that it keeps me honest, is I really am a big time fan of music. And I think a lot of these people are. I'm not sure, but I think that I just have such a deep appreciation for the whole thing. The genre, the idiom. Music in general, but specifically pop music. It just blows me away.
Isn't it amazing that years ago the only criteria for being on WABC is that you had to have a hit record, and like nowadays all radio stations are separated into formats.
Yeah. Well, this business has never been easy. It's always been very tough. There's always been a side of it that's been very kind of shady and very heavy duty, because there's a lot of money, and it's a business that has a lot of money involved in it, and it doesn't have too much criteria about who buys, who can do the selling.
Right.
It's like a surgeon needs to have 8 years of med school. The guy who runs a record company doesn't have to have any.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, so there was the underbelly of it, which was because anything that moves that kind of money, and you're talking about big bucks, it attracts all kinds of people. And I think, unfortunately today, the corporatizing, I don't even know how you say it, the corporate selling of America,
sure,
has taken over to the point, but now I almost think, and that's one of the great, fantastic things about the Internet, is that there's a backlash now. All these, free thinkers and true believers and individualists, they don't go away. They may get plowed over for a while, but then they get sick of it and they raise their head again and they say, screw this. And I think that, the very, very lamentable fact that all the radio stations, like the official radio stations in this country, are owned by two companies.
Yeah.
That has got to tell you something. I believe in democracy. I believe in somewhat in capitalism, which is free trade. But then you go, come on, sell it. What the hell is going on here?
Right, you've got Clear Channel, CBS Radio, and then, you know, maybe Emmis or something.
So what's going on, though, and it obviously, you know, unfortunately, we live in a society that the amount of money that is being generated kind of stipulates how real or unreal something is. If something makes a lot of money, then it's very important and it's very, you know what I mean?
Right.
We gotta salute. You know what I mean? And I think that unfortunately gives a lot of people and a lot of young people the wrong idea about life, you know, and about what's important. And I think now certain things are happening in the society where people are kind of rethinking a little, like, well, what's really important here? Is it really important to make a lot of money even if you screw everybody over? Or is having so much money, more money than anybody else, is that really as important as other things in life? But my point is that now with the internet, you have all these online radio stations. You have a format for people who love radio to come back again when they're, you know, prior to the internet, if you loved radio and you wanted to do something, what could you do? You could have a ham radio.
Right.
You know, now you can actually broadcast. And, I mean, go online, and you will see there's a whole wealth of radio stations that cater to all kinds of tastes. And these are people, real music lovers, who do it because they love it, which, to me, that's what's happening now. We're getting back to a type of, part of our society is getting back to people who are doing things that they believe in. And it's an alternative to, like, people who, you know, some people are going, is this all there is? It's like that song is.
Right, sure.
Is, you know. I mean, there is more, and it's great, and it's fun.
That could also apply to you because, I mean, I don't think you're doing music now with the intention of playing halftime at the Super Bowl and pitching Coke.
You bet your booty I am. No, I am a perfect example of somebody who, if you stay around and stay in the game long enough, actually things start happening. I think I'm looking towards my best year ever, and that's because I have really, you know, been dedicated to my craft and to the music I play, and I've stuck it out when all reason would tell you to throw in the towel, and things have come around. Things have come around tremendously.
How would you compare it to, say, like 1979, 1980? Same kind of excitement?
You know, it's different now. What's happening now is the first time around there was a lot of excitement on certain levels, but I think in retrospect, one of the I will say one thing. I was part of a generation of musicians, and I don't know exactly the reason why this is, but I do know that when we were starting out 30-some-odd years ago, all of us put a lot of time into our craft. I mean, days and hours. We spent all day playing music, not just part of the day, all day. And it shows the musicianship, the level of musicianship of all those musicians in that first time around usually is really damn good, especially in light if you compare it to some of the things that are happening now.
Tell us about how you're using the internet to not only get your own music out there, but also to connect with people that are into the same kind of stuff and that are fans of yours, and you might be fans of them.
Well, I'll tell you. I'll try to give you the short version of how this all came about. Basically, as with a lot of people, I think my mother was the first person. She said, "Look," and this is in like 1990-something, in the beginning of the 90s. She said, "Look,
right.
I'm buying you a computer for Christmas or New Year's or your birthday, or whatever, a laptop." And I said, "Mom, don't waste your time. Don't waste your money. I'm not gonna surf the net. The hell with this." And I'm pretty, you know, I'm old school and I'm borderline conservative, and it takes me a while to embrace new things. So I just said, "No, you know, the internet. Come on." She said, "Don't be stupid. I'm buying you a computer." I made about $4,000 the first week selling my music, and I said, "You know, I like this. I like this internet thing." And then the other thing that happened, as soon as I went online, I found out that I had fans of my music all over the world. And prior to that, I thought, well, you know, it's pretty much a done deal. I had a nice run. had my thing, did my had my major label deal with Columbia, was managed by Bill Graham, did a bunch of tours. Time to move on. And I also felt like, because in the 90s was a complete bust for anybody doing this kind of music. I mean, just 100% completely off the radar. So then moving forward to now, getting ready to release my 13th studio album on Alive Bomb Records, which I'm very happy about because I've known Susie Shaw since I started my career. Susie and Greg were some of the first people we met out in Los Angeles in the mid-'70s. And I was talking to the label, and I love the guy, but he was like saying, listen, man, you got to be realistic. There's only 50 retail outlets in this country that sell this kind of music, and with downloading and this, that, and the other thing, you're lucky if you can sell 2,000 records. And because this was a conversation tied in with the budget of the recording, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
And I said, wait a minute. You're telling me that it's something that I invested 35 years of my life into is good for 2,000 units? I ain't buying it. No way. Cannot be. And that's what gave birth to the Beat Army. And I basically went online and said, look, to all the people that I know and don't know, all you people that say, oh, I love Power Pop. Oh, how they were such a great band. Why were there only 3 people there? To get up off your butts and get together and let's do something about this. And what I found out is that there are a lot of people out there that are willing to do something. They just were waiting for some kind of a vehicle or format to do it.
I just pulled up your website here, and I see your tour dates. You have some stuff happening in July.
We have 4 or 5 national tours, all booked through the Beat Army.
Right.
And it's basically, my new slogan is by the people, for the people. These are tours booked by bands from the local areas, like, the South tour is booked by Paul Tucker, who is the bassist for the Hypnotic Chickens out of Jackson. He booked the whole tour. As soon as he put the word out, it snowballed. We're playing all legitimate venues. We're playing the High Tone. Peter Case is on the road. His agent heard we were playing the High Tone. He's on the bill now. We're playing with King Louie and the Missing Monuments in New Orleans. It started out in a small club. Then they heard about it. Another guy jumped on the bill, and we moved to the best club in town, One Eye Jacks. But all done with, in-house. No managers, no agents, none of that. Just all bands working together. We'll tour with them. We'll travel with them. We'll stay with them. And we'll make money. We will make money because we won't have any expenses.
So where can people find out about the Beat Army and how to join it and be a part of it and just catch up on you in general?
Well, the easiest thing, is to put the Beat Army or Beat Army in your Facebook's search bar, and you'll come to me. And the Beat Army is me. You send a message to the Beat Army, and yours truly will answer it. And hopefully one day we'll get so big that I'll have people working with me. But right now it's a one-man show, which is fine. It's my job. I spend all day on the computer doing, with the bookings and talking to bands and finding bands and looking, and answering correspondence and getting ready for this massive amount of tours. I mean, we're touring the South, we're touring Canada, we're touring the Midwest, we're touring the West Coast. And these are, for example, the tour in the West Coast started. Now the Plimsouls are going to do 2 shows with us. We're going to have a Paul Collins Beat Plimsouls show in Los Angeles and in San Francisco, which is going to be a major blowout because those are like our 2 biggest towns.
Sure.
And
don't forget New York, Union Hall, August 19th.
August 19th at Union Hall, which is very nice. We're doing a tour in Canada with 3 of the best power pop bands, Sonic Avenues, Mother's Children, and the Walnut Kids. And Mother's Children is going to come down with us after that tour. We're going to work our way down to New York, and we're going to do this show in New York with Mother's Children and Anabolics, who are a band out of Brooklyn. And then it's pretty certain that on the 20th, we will go to the Comet Ping Pong, which is this really cool pizza live venue in Washington, D.C., and do a show there with my friend John Davis, who used to be, you remember
Super
that
Drag?
Q Not You?
Oh, Q and Not You, yes.
He's got a new band, and he's going to kill me. The name escapes me right now. I think it's Little Tales or something like that. And they're going to play, or Little Falls, and it escapes me. He's got a new band, and they're going to play with us in D.C. And then, but, now, that's why I say I'm looking forward to my best year. I am going to we're going to be working constantly. The record comes out August 24th. It's great. The cover was done by William Stout. He's one of the top cartoonists in California. He did the poster for the movie Life of Brian by the Monty Python.
Oh, right.
So it's a really great, wacky cover design. And the title of the album is the King of Power Pop, and I'm just going to step right up to the plate and knock it out of the park.
Very, very cool. And people can they can get to you, as we mentioned before, on Facebook. And I had spoken to you before when we were setting this up. I was mentioning Twitter, and have you?
And I went on after you mentioned it.
Yeah, have you considered it?
I started posting.
You did?
I did.
All right.
I don't really know how to use it yet. All I did is I made posts. I'm sure there's more things I should be doing, but it takes a while for this old dog to learn me.
All right. Well, I'll follow you on Twitter then.
Well, what you can do is you can tweet me and tell me what I should do. The other thing is, I know that there's people that do not. I know that there's some people that don't like Facebook and don't want to use it. And of course, I'm a believer in everybody should do exactly what they want. So if you want to get in touch with me, you can just go to my website, which is it's very important to put the Paul Collins Beat, and there's a contact, icon. Click on that, and you can send me an email, and I will answer you. I think the Internet has been a boon to people like myself. I think inadvertently it's been the greatest thing to all these fringe artists or underground people, because it connects us with our fans worldwide. And prior to that, how would you know that there may be, there's a guy in New Zealand that wants to buy your record? And I think there's an interesting thing happening. I think there's a generational thing. I think there's the guys from my generation who are like, we're a bunch of old farts, but we've still got some life to us. And then there's these new kids, and it's fusing together. I mean, I do a lot of shows where I'll see a father and son.
Right.
Now, on one hand, you could say, that's not rock and roll. On the other hand, you say, man, that is cool.
Right.
A dad and his kid are at a show, and they're both digging it. And I'm a father, and anything you can do with your kid that you both enjoy is great.
Well, Paul, I think we covered it all.
Well, I want to thank you, and I want to thank your listeners, and I want to tell them that they need to keep listening to you, because you are part of the team that keeps the light burning for all of us, because without what you do, a lot of what we can do doesn't get anywhere. Well,
thanks. As I tell people, it's always my honor to have someone like you on the show, and also to let everybody else who might be listening that's not necessarily hooked to their computer and know what's going on, that there's a lot of stuff happening online. You just got to seek it out.
Yes, it's a fabulous tool, and it's there for everybody, and you can decide what part of it you want to use, but it is fabulous.
And we're going to hear some new music from the Paul Collins Beat, which you can hear for yourself either right now on the show or later on or whenever you want on their website, thepaulcollinsbeat.com. And this is Hey DJ.
I said, hey